Today's lesson is dividing polynomials. I'll be going through a couple problems on here, not all of them. Whatever problems we don't go through, you can work on those yourself. First type of problem I want to look at today is dividing a polynomial by a monomial. Our first example here, here's our monomial, the 2x. We're going to divide it out of this polynomial. So the way we're going to do it, first way, is have your monomial on the outside of the set of parentheses, and then we're going to write our polynomial, 6x to the fourth plus 4x cubed minus 2x squared in parentheses. So now we're going to divide this, our 2x, out of each of these terms in here. And so when I do that, 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. X to the fourth divided by x is x cubed. Our next term, our plus sign down, 4 divided by 2 is 2. X cubed divided by x is x squared. Our minus sign down, 2 divided by 2 is 1. X squared divided by x is just x. And that would be your answer. The second type is dividing a polynomial by a binomial. And you can see here, I have a trinomial here, and they factored that as two binomials first. And then they divided it by this binomial. So let's look at an example ourselves. If I take x squared minus 6x plus 9, I need to factor that. So what do I multiply to get a positive 9? If I add them together, gives me negative 6 and negative 3. So we have x minus 3 times x minus 3, all divided by x minus 3. Now I can see that I have common factors in the numerator and the denominator, x minus 3 times x minus divided by x minus 3. So that leaves me with an answer of x minus 3. I want to show one more with this one because this next example, you notice that the binomial has the terms reversed. They have a 2 minus the x. So what we want to do with that example is take the negative out so that we can have a positive x in that binomial. So to start off, I'm going to factor this trinomial. So what do I multiply to get positive 6, but add them together gives me a negative 5. Well, I know 3 times 2 gives me 6, so a negative 3 times a negative 2 gives me a positive 6, but add them together gives me negative 5x. Now in the bottom, if I take this, I want to make this, if I rearrange this would be a negative x plus 2. I want to make that a positive x. So if I take a negative out, a negative 1x divided by a negative 1 is x. A positive 2 divided by a negative 1 is a negative 2. Now you can see that I have common factors in the numerator and the denominator, the x minus 2 and the x minus 2. So right now, in my answer, I end up having a negative x minus 3 divided by negative 1, which really means I have a negative on the outside. And if I distribute the negative 1 on the outside, my final answer, I can either keep it as negative times x minus 3, or I can have a negative x plus 3. Either one, you can either have this one or this as your answer. If you want to see or practice more problems, you can do these on your own. Example 3, dividing a polynomial using long division. So going back to your elementary years where you were doing long division, we're just going to be doing the same steps, it's just without polynomial. So I'm going to write my divisor first, so x plus 2. So this will always be your divisor. And my dividend, what am I dividing the divisor out of? I need to put this polynomial in here, but I wanted to make sure that the biggest degree is first. So 13x squared is my biggest degree. Then I have plus 5x minus 42. Now if I would solve this, I want to get this x to be the same thing as 13x squared. So I need to multiply x by 13x in order to get to be 13x squared. So 13 times x is 13x squared. 13 times 2 gives me a positive 26x. Now in long division, after you multiply it on the top, now you need to subtract below. So I need to subtract all of this. So if I'm subtracting all of that, that means I need to change all the signs inside. So it's 13x squared minus 13x, that's 0. 5x minus 26x is a negative 21x. Okay. If that is confusing, just make this a positive, change the signs inside here. And then you just add straight down. 5x minus 26x is negative 21x. Then I bring down the next term, so minus 42. Now I have to figure out what do I multiply x by to get 21x, negative 21x. I need to multiply that by a negative 21. So I want to make sure it's the same as this part right here. So negative 21 times x is a negative 21x, and negative 21 times 2 is a negative 42. Now I need to subtract all of this. When I subtract all of those, all I'm going to do is make this a plus, change all the signs inside here. So now I have negative 21x plus 21x is 0. Negative 42 plus 42 is 0. So my answer ends up being 13x minus 21. You may work on the next problem yourself. If you want to pause the video and work on that. For the next type of problem, sometimes the divisor is not a factor of the dividend. So that means you may have a remainder. So let's look at a problem where you have a remainder. Now look here, I'll write this problem out. We have x minus 3, and we're dividing there. I got 4x squared plus 7x plus 17. I want to see what do I multiply x by to get 4x squared. I can multiply that by 4x. 4x times x is 4x squared. 4x times a negative 3 is a negative 12x. And then now I'm going to subtract all of that. And so when I subtract all of that, I'm really going to add the opposite. So I add the opposite of each of these. So now I have 4x squared minus 4x squared is 0. 7x plus 12x is 19x. And then bring down the next number, which is positive 17. And now my new problem is 19x plus 17 divided by x minus 3. So what do I multiply x by to get 19x? 19. 19 times x is 19x. 19 times a negative 3 is a negative 57. Now you're going to subtract this binomial, which really means I'm adding the opposites. So 19x minus 19x is 0. 17 plus 57 is 74. Now this is my remainder. I need to put this up with my answer. I'm going to say plus 74 all over my divisor, which is x minus 3. So this would be my answer. I'm going to have you do this next problem yourself, but the only thing I want you to remember is I need to rewrite this one as x minus 2 divided by, and I need to write the polynomial in degree order. So 6x cubed minus 3x squared plus x minus 33. So you can solve that one yourself. And the fifth problem, dividing a polynomial with a 0 coefficient. So sometimes you might not see an x value. So here you have a 3x cubed, a 6x squared, but I don't have an x here. So I need to put the 0x in my problem when I solve. So let's set this problem up. I always want my x term first in my divisors. So I have x plus 4, and I'm going to divide this by, my biggest term is 3x cubed plus 6x squared plus 0x minus 7. So now what do I multiply x by to get 3x cubed? I need to multiply that by 3x squared. You notice I put it above this x squared column. Okay? So 3x squared times x is 3x cubed. 3x squared times 4 is a positive 12x squared. Now underneath, I need to subtract all of this. And when I subtract all that, it really means I'm adding the opposite of what's in the parentheses. So negative 3x cubed minus 3x cubed is 0. 6x squared minus 12x squared is a negative 6x squared. Bring down the next term, so plus 0x. So what do I multiply x by to get this negative 6x squared? I multiply it by a negative 6x. So a negative 6x times x is a negative 6x squared. Negative 6x times 4 is a negative 24x. Now I need to subtract everything there, which really means I'm adding the opposite of what's in the parentheses. So negative 6x squared plus 6x squared is 0. 0x plus 24x is 24x. Bring down my minus 7. What do I multiply x by to get 24x? The positive 24. 24 times x is 24x. 24 times 4 is 96. Add them up. Subtract everything underneath here. So that means I got to add the opposites. So this be 24x minus 24x is 0. 7 minus 96 is 103, a negative 103. That is my remainder. I don't have anything else to bring down, so I bring that up here, and I put down as my answer 3x squared minus 6x plus 24, and then I'll put minus 103 all over x plus 4. And this would be my answer. For this one, I'm not going to solve it, but I'll help you set it up for you. So it'd be x minus 4 divided by 5x cubed plus, I don't have any x squared, so 0x squared plus 6x minus 8. solve it from there. And I want to go through one more problem application. This one, finding area. I'm not going to solve this whole thing, but I'll help set it up. Remember, area equals length times width. If they want us to find the length, I need to solve for the length. So I divide by the width. So I have the area. The area is x squared minus 11x plus 30. And divide that by the width, which is x minus 6. And then from here, you would just factor on top. So this would be x minus 6, x minus 5, divided by x minus 6. X minus 6 cancels out, so your length would be x minus 5. You need to see another one. You can work on this one yourself. Otherwise, your assignment, your lesson 93, these 10 problems.